Hello everybody, this is Cameron at SoundCraft Academy. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Hey guys, in this video we're going to look into some of the more formal aspects of rhyme, particularly as it relates to songwriting. I used to carry one of these things around with me. I think, isn't it great we have smartphones and we don't have to carry big books around like that anymore, even though books are kind of cool. Anyway, I say this not at all flippantly. You are free to make whatever kind of art you want, and please do. Having had the privilege of working with some songwriting students now, I think people who write songs are chaotic at first, and having these rules, I don't even like the word rules, having these conventions gives you some structure when you need it. And because songwriting is also a craft as well as an art, this is exactly the kind of knowledge and practice that will help you get through the non-inspirational moments when you have to sit down and crank out the work. Let's start with some definitions, because having a common language is the foundation of communicating ideas effectively. There's a lot more to rhyme if you want to dig deeper, but here's what's most important for songwriting. First, we have strict rhyme. This is when the ending part of each word is identical in both sound and stress. Examples include code and node, sun and gun, or sky and high. The match is precise and the stressed syllables align perfectly. Next is false rhyme. This occurs when the vowel sounds at the end of words match, but the consonants that follow are different. For example, mind and line. Even though they're very similar, mind has that D sound on the end and line does not. Even if you make them both plural by adding the S on the end, the common S sound does not make them a strict rhyme because it is a suffix, not part of the core word. Another example is heart and hard. They sound similar but don't quite match. Here's an interesting case. Sky and dies. If you remove the S from dies, it would rhyme strictly with sky. But as it stands, it falls into the false rhyme category. Most modern songwriters don't strongly differentiate between strict and false rhymes anymore. While some old-timers and purists might insist on the distinction, the majority of contemporary writers prioritize how the rhyme feels in context over technicalities. Still, it's good to understand these categories so that you can make intentional choices. Do you think strict and false rhymes matter in songwriting? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would really love to hear them. And then finally, we have sound-alikes. This is when words look the same on paper but don't actually match when spoken. For example, love and move look similar but don't rhyme in sound. For a long time I used sound alike and false rhyme interchangeably, but they're not the same, so don't do that. So understanding these distinctions can really sharpen your songwriting and make your lyrics stand out. Writing lyrics is like any other form of creator activity,
just looking at
right?
a couple more
and then
rhymes.
once you start making decisions and putting things into some kind of tangible form, you're going to have to start making choices. Those initial choices are going to inform and sometimes dictate all your subsequent choices. And then just looking at a couple more rhymes, code and node are, this tune is
strict rhymes.
Obviously called Imaginary Music. Code and node are strict rhymes. From a show I'm working on called
as are sun and gun.
So we got two good ones in a row 43. There. For the most part, this song uses a half rhyme scheme, which is exceedingly popular rhyme scheme in all kinds of popular music. This song, for the most part, uses a half rhyme scheme, which is, for the most part, uses a half rhyme scheme. Or if you want to use the fancy words, blank verse with interlaced rhyme. What it essentially is a group of 4 lines where the second and the fourth line have an end rhyme. And to map this out formally, this would be A, B, and this is C, probably a return of B, because those are the end rhymes. Same thing here with this group of 4, right? A, B, C, and then B. Now, this is an abomination of a rhyme, but we'll talk about that. This is definitely one of the most popular rhyme schemes. Here's something we saw in the definition section. We have minds and lines. Now, those both have a plural S sound at the end, but they are not strict rhymes because the S is a suffix, and there's your D sound, D, and of course, this ends on an N sound. Now, this is, we also talked in the definition section about context and intention, and girlfriends and sins. That is one unholy abomination of jamming words together and making them try to rhyme. But it does kind of work when it's sung, and it gets the point across. So I'm going to let that one fly. And we'll talk more about some of these rhymes down here in a minute. Now, when we talked about making choices, this is where the rubber really hits the road in syllable count. Imaginary music, 7. For imaginary minds, 8. Then, initially, I had clouds of entangled information, which is 9 syllables. Turns out that's not really singable or manageable. So, in taking some artistic license with grammar, this is just the sung part, entangled information, which brings it down to 7. And then broken data lines, we can get 8 out of it by putting a melisma on lines. A melisma is when you sing more than one note per vowel. When you sing more than one note per vowel. So you can squeeze an extra note in once in a while, an extra syllable in by using melismas. But we've got it to technically 7, 8, 7, and 7. And so this was, the typed version here is, what I originally thought was going to work. The rubber really hits the road when you start putting the lyrics into notation, because you have to line things up with each note. So there's no faking or fooling yourself. Probably when this is all done and condensed, I have the different verses written out in different places, but this will probably be condensed into, and when it has, I'm sure you've all seen sheet music with double lines, and you can see where the syllables have to line up for the first and second and or third verse, and so on. So songwriting is quite the craft as well as the art. The reason I made this video, which I may turn into a series, is in working with my songwriting students, I've noticed that writer's block doesn't really seem to be a thing. If anything, they have too many ideas. And like I said at the beginning of the video, new writers, younger writers tend to be very chaotic, and they've got all these great ideas and they want to throw everything in to each song. And that just doesn't work. In my view, you need to write with intention, just like you hopefully live your life with intention. My favorite analogy is that a song is like a photograph. A photograph is just a slice, a tiny slice of time. And it's just one thought, one image that portrays some kind of emotion or communicates information. But in songwriting, we want to be portraying emotion. So you want to, everything in your song should be in service of telling just that story that's in that photograph. You know, don't throw the kitchen sink and your neighbor's kitchen sink in too, just because you can. Alright, so in this video we looked at the major types of rhyme: strict rhyme, false rhyme, and sound-alikes. Strict rhymes have the same exact sound on the end of the word. False rhymes have a vowel that rhymes but have a different consonant at the end, simply put. And so-called sound-alikes are words that look alike when they're written but don't sound anything alike when spoken. And the fact that once you have an idea and you start making it in any kind of tangible form, like writing it down, those initial decisions you make are going to inform the rest of the song. Songwriting is a particularly disciplined art in that regard because you have to match syllables in diverse notes. And then we talked about, and chorus notes, and we talked about how valuable notation can be as a tool to, well, to communicate your ideas, but in the writing process to keep you honest. That is probably the biggest way that keeps me honest anyway. So what do you guys think? Do you think that it matters whether you use strict or false rhymes? I know back in the day of like Tin Pan Alley, only strict rhymes were allowed. I know we're a lot more loose these days. Do you think it matters? Let me know in the comments. I'm also interested in what you think about strict syllable matching, so if you have any ideas or comments about that, let me know in the comments below. Alright, that's it guys. If you learned something today or got something of value out of this video, perhaps I've earned a subscription from you.